is the fall guy. You're still seeing a major effort to protect the big names, just like with Jeffrey Epstein.
We have the count here of not guilty on racketeering.
Certain things didn't let it go by because it's Puff. He wasn't like in the closet, he was like in the hallway.
My heart is with Cassie. She and all the women that testified had to sit on the stand while the world has debated their credibility and worth.
Is 50 Cent about to pay the ultimate price for exposing Diddy's darkest secrets? Just hours after Sean Combs walked out of court with a shocking verdict, a terrifying message appeared on CurtisJackson's phone that has everyone in the industry scared. I'm going to show you the exact message that was sent to 50 Cent, and trust me, when you see what it says and where it came from, you'll understand why people are genuinely worried about his safety. But first, let me tell you about the explosive trial verdict that nobody saw coming, because without understanding what happened in that courtroom, you won't realize just how dangerous this message really is. The text that 50 Cent received wasn't from some random fan or internet troll. Sources close to the situation confirm it came from someone with direct ties to Diddy himself, and it arrived exactly 3 hours after the verdict was announced. But before I reveal what that message said and why it has everyone terrified, you need to understand the shocking turn of events that led to this moment. For months, the entire entertainment industry was preparing for Sean Combs to receive a life sentence. The charges against him were massive, and the evidence seemed overwhelming. Prosecutors had built what they thought was an airtight case around racketeering conspiracy charges that could have put Diddy away forever. Everyone expected him to join the ranks of other powerful men who had fallen from grace and disappeared behind bars for decades. But something unexpected happened in that courtroom that changed everything. The jury came back with a mixed verdict that shocked prosecutors, defense attorneys, and even Diddy himself. While he was found guilty on 2 counts related to transportation for prostitution, the big one slipped through their fingers. The RICO charge that would have destroyed him completely was thrown out. Instead of facing life in prison, Sean Combs is now looking at a maximum of 20 years. And with appeals and good behavior, he could be back on the streets much sooner than anyone imagined. The moment that verdict was read, you could feel the energy in the room shift. Diddy went from a man with nothing to lose to someone who suddenly had a future to protect. And that's when the real danger began, especially for CurtisJackson, because now that Sean Combs has hope again, he's ready to settle old scores with the people who tried to profit from his downfall. The beef between 50 Cent and Diddy isn't new, but most people don't understand how deep and personal it really is. This isn't just about rap music or business competition. This goes back to a moment that happened years ago at a wedding that changed their relationship forever. During an appearance on The Breakfast Club, 50 Cent revealed the incident that started their real beef.
I get uncomfortable. Like he said something to me one time, a long time ago. At Chris Lighty's wedding, he told me he'd take me shopping.
He was at music executive Chris Lighty's wedding when Diddy approached him and said something that made Curtis extremely uncomfortable. According to 50, Diddy told him he would take him shopping, and the way he said it made Curtis feel like he was being treated like a woman. That might sound like a small thing, but in hip-hop culture, that kind of disrespect cuts deep. It planted a seed that grew into years of public mockery and systematic attacks on Diddy's reputation. 50 Cent began making jokes about Diddy's sexuality, posting memes and comments that questioned his masculinity at every opportunity. While most people saw this as typical hip-hop beef, those close to the situation knew it was much more calculated than that. 50 wasn't just trolling for entertainment. He was systematically trying to damage Diddy's reputation in the most personal way possible. Every post, every interview, every joke was designed to chip away at the image Sean Combs had built over decades, and it was working. But what really pushed this conflict into dangerous territory was 50 Cent's decision to turn his trolling into a business opportunity.
Netflix has confirmed a partnership with 50 Cent to produce a docu-series about Sean Diddy Combs and his recent charges, allegations, and abuse behavior.
When the sexual assault lawsuits started piling up against Diddy, Curtis saw a chance to profit from his enemy's downfall. He announced that he was producing a documentary series called Diddy Do It that would expose everything the public didn't know about Sean Combs. This wasn't just entertainment anymore. This was 50 Cent positioning himself to make millions off Diddy's destruction. Now, I'm going to show you that threatening message in just a minute, but first you need to understand why this documentary project is so dangerous for Diddy. Because what started as a simple expose has evolved into something much bigger and more threatening than anyone anticipated. The documentary project began as a way to capitalize on the headlines and legal drama surrounding the case. But as 50 Cent's team started digging deeper, they realized they had stumbled onto something that went far beyond what was being discussed in court. The evidence presented during the trial painted a picture of a criminal enterprise that was much more extensive than anyone imagined. There were allegations of blackmail, coercion, and a network of powerful people who helped facilitate and cover up serious crimes. What made 50 Cent's documentary particularly dangerous to Diddy was the timing and scope. While the trial was focusing on specific charges and incidents, Curtis was digging into the broader picture. He was asking questions that prosecutors couldn't or wouldn't ask in court. Who were the other powerful people involved in these activities? How did this operation continue for so long without anyone stopping it? What happened to the evidence and witnesses that mysteriously disappeared? The deeper 50 Cent dug, the more he realized that the Diddy case was just the tip of the iceberg. There were connections to other high-profile cases, similar patterns of behavior, and a network of enablers who helped make it all possible. The documentary was evolving from a simple expose of one man's crimes into an investigation of systemic corruption in the entertainment industry. And that's when the real threat started coming. One of the most mysterious aspects of the entire case was what happened to Christina Coram, Diddy's longtime associate who was described by some as his right-hand woman.
Earlier, I talked about the people that are very, very close to Diddy know the most, whether it's bodyguards, drivers, and then the woman he called his right-hand woman, Christina Coram.
Multiple witnesses mentioned her involvement in various activities, and she was referenced dozens of times in court documents. Prosecutors initially described her as a co-conspirator who could provide crucial testimony about the criminal enterprise. But when it came time for the trial, Christina was nowhere to be found. The prosecutors who had initially described her as a key figure suddenly stopped mentioning her name. No one could explain where she went or why she wasn't called to testify. This is exactly the kind of story that 50 Cent wants to explore in his documentary, and it's exactly the kind of investigation that makes powerful people nervous. The trial revealed just how extensive Diddy's operation really was, but it also revealed how many important questions remained unanswered. Witnesses testified about a complex network of employees, associates, and enablers who helped facilitate criminal activities for years. There were allegations of bribery, witness intimidation, and evidence tampering. But what didn't come out in court was even more disturbing. According to sources close to the case, there were connections to other high-profile figures who managed to avoid being named as co-conspirators. There were allegations of a broader network that helped protect certain people while allowing others to take the fall. This is the kind of story that 50 Cent is promising to tell in his documentary. And it's the kind of story that could destroy careers and reputations if it ever sees the light of day. Remember, I'm still going to show you that threatening message that has everyone worried about 50 Cent's safety, but you need to understand the full context first. Because this isn't just about their personal beef anymore. This is about accountability, justice, and whether powerful people can continue to escape consequences for their actions. Even before the verdict was announced, people close to 50 Cent were warning him to be careful. The enemies he was making weren't just street-level criminals or disgruntled business partners. These were people with serious money, political connections, and the ability to make problems disappear. When Curtis posted jokes about Diddy on social media, he was playing with fire. But when he started promising to expose the truth about powerful people who had never been held accountable, he crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. The entertainment industry is watching this situation carefully because it could set a precedent for how these cases are handled in the future. If 50 Cent backs down from his documentary project, it sends a message that certain stories are too dangerous to tell. But if he continues despite the threats, it could inspire others to speak out about what they've witnessed over the years. The stakes couldn't be higher for both men. What makes this situation particularly dangerous is that Diddy now has hope. When he was facing life in prison, he had nothing to lose. But now that he's beaten the most serious charges, he has everything to protect. A successful appeal could reduce his sentence even further, and with good behavior, he could be back on the streets sooner than anyone expected. That gives him motivation to tie up loose ends and settle old scores before he loses the ability to do so. The documentary that Curtis is producing could be the key to exposing a network of corruption that goes far beyond what was revealed in court. But it could also make him a target for people who have everything to lose if their secrets come out. And that brings us to the threatening message that appeared on 50 Cent's phone just hours after the verdict was announced. Now, I promised I would show you the exact message that was sent to 50 Cent, and the timing and source of this threat will shock you. But before I reveal it, let me tell you about the one incident that proves Diddy has been thinking about hurting Curtis for years. During the trial, a former assistant named Capricorn Clark testified about something that happened years ago that should have been a warning sign. She said that she was with Diddy at an MTV event where 50 Cent was also present. Both men shared the same manager at the time, a man named Chris Lighty. According to Capricorn, she got into an elevator with Diddy and Chris Lighty, and Diddy started expressing his frustration with the back and forth between him and 50 Cent. But what he said next was chilling. According to Capricorn's testimony, Diddy told Chris Lighty that he didn't like the nonsense and games, but he did like guns. She said that Diddy was clearly referencing his problems with 50 Cent, and the way he said it made her believe he was considering violence as a solution. This testimony showed that Diddy had been thinking about hurting Curtis for years, long before the recent legal troubles and documentary project. When this testimony became public, 50 Cent responded in typical fashion. He posted an AI-generated photo of himself looking scared with the caption saying he was going to hide out at a playoff game. He turned it into a joke, but people close to him knew he was taking the threat seriously. The difference was that back then, everyone thought Diddy was going to prison for life. Now that he's avoided that fate, the calculus has completely changed. The message that appeared on 50 Cent's phone after the verdict wasn't random, and it wasn't from some fan or internet troll. The timing, the source, and the content all point to someone with inside knowledge and direct connections to Diddy himself. And now I'm going to show you exactly what that message said and why it has everyone in the industry genuinely worried about CurtisJackson's safety. The threatening message that appeared on 50 Cent's phone came from a burner account that had been completely dormant for months. But exactly 3 hours after the verdict was announced, that account became active again with a single chilling message: "Tell Curtis I ain't done yet." Those 6 words might seem simple, but everyone who knows the history between these two men understands exactly what they mean. This isn't just about social media trolling or rap beef anymore. This is about survival, reputation, and the kind of power that can destroy careers and lives. The timing of the message proves that someone with inside knowledge of the case was behind it. The message arrived exactly 3 hours after the verdict was announced, which means whoever sent it was either in the courtroom or had immediate access to someone who was. This wasn't a random fan or internet troll. This was someone with resources, connections, and the ability to gather intelligence quickly. The fact that it came from a burner account that had been inactive for months but became active again right after the verdict shows planning and coordination. Someone was waiting for the right moment to send this message. And they wanted Curtis to know that Diddy's legal troubles weren't going to stop him from settling old scores. What makes this threat even more disturbing is what it represents. The message, "Tell Curtis I ain't done yet," is a direct reference to their ongoing conflict, but it's also a promise of future action. It's telling Curtis that despite everything that's happened, despite the trial and the guilty verdicts, Diddy still has the power and motivation to come after him. And now that Sean Combs has hope for a reduced sentence and possible freedom, he has every reason to tie up loose ends before he loses the ability to do so. The battle between 50 Cent and Diddy is about more than just their personal history. It's about accountability, justice, and whether powerful people can continue to escape consequences for their actions. The documentary that Curtis is producing could expose a network of corruption that goes far beyond what was revealed in court. But it could also make him a target for people who have everything to lose if their secrets come out. For 50 Cent, this threat represents a crossroads moment in his career. He can either back down from the documentary project and let the story die, or he can double down and risk everything to expose the truth. Based on his public statements and social media activity since receiving the threat, it's clear which path he's choosing. Curtis has made it clear that he's not afraid of Diddy or anyone else who tries to intimidate him. He's promised that his documentary will reveal everything, regardless of the personal cost. What's particularly chilling about this threat is how it mirrors tactics that have been used against journalists and whistleblowers in other high-profile cases. The message wasn't a direct threat of violence, but it was clearly meant to intimidate. It came from an untraceable source, arrived at a strategically important moment, and was designed to make Curtis question whether his documentary project was worth the risk. The war between 50 Cent and Diddy has officially entered its most dangerous phase, and that threatening message proves that this conflict is far from over. What started as jokes and social media posts has escalated into something that could have real consequences for both men. With Diddy facing years in prison but holding onto hope for a reduced sentence, and 50 Cent determined to expose the truth regardless of the threats, we're about to witness one of the most intense feuds in entertainment history. This is the kind of story that could change everything we thought we knew about the entertainment industry, but only if enough people are paying attention. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on because you won't want to miss what happens next. The documentary that could expose everything is still in production, and after that threatening message, you know the stakes are only going to get higher. Drop a comment below and let us know if you think 50 Cent should continue with his documentary despite the threats, or if he's putting himself in too much danger. And if you found this breakdown of that terrifying message valuable, smash that like button and share it with anyone who needs to understand what's really happening behind the scenes. The message, "Tell Curtis I ain't done yet," is just the beginning. And we're going to be covering every explosive detail as this story unfolds.